Hello and welcome. Tonight, we are going to take a deep dive into the world of what it's like to be a freshman in college as a college student athlete. So, I'm really going to encourage parents, if your student athlete is available, let them listen in. Want to remind everybody two things. One, this is a live Q&A. So I would like it if you are available to watch live on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook or X, I'd like you to engage with the stream. I would like for you to understand that each and every week when I come here, I do a lot of questions that have come in from the previous week also, and I try to take the time during the live stream to answer the questions that come in. I encourage you to send your questions. Want to remind everyone that Proline balls, uh, the inventory is all back in as of, I believe, September 1st. So I encourage you to use the promo code above. Getting a lot of coaches that are using the Proline balls, uh, hitting in the hack attacks and jug machines, catching also from the hack attack. They're using them for infield, for first baseman scoops, PFPs with pitchers. The reason is health. You don't have to worry about anyone injuring themselves with high level velocity repetitions. The Proline ball has true ball flight, very, very durable material. If it's good enough for Bobby Witt Jr. and many, many major leaguers, it's good enough for your youth program, high school program. College coaches, Johnson University, I know Coach Serrano uses the balls. Many other programs throughout the Southeast. Proline is located in Houston. But again, I encourage you, Proline balls on X, formerly known as Twitter. Also, use the promo code up top and order your Proline balls for your program, or even if you have an individual cage at home. Want to also let you know the baseball blue book, all new, all improved. So make sure you're downloading the blue book, creating a profile. Okay, so getting Kip. Hello, Kip. Welcome aboard. We are going to have some special guests here tonight. And I am going to ask tonight's question that I want everyone to respond to is, tell me the first album you ever purchased. Mine was News of the World by Queen, 1977, Moody Street, Waltham, Mass. That is my first album. So make sure you're engaging with the video by going over to YouTube and leaving the answer. What was your first album that you ever purchased with your own money when albums and vinyl were a big thing back in the day when dinosaurs roamed the earth? So tonight we're going to be talking about, we talk so much about college recruiting and all of the metrics and analytics, but we don't talk enough about what the reality is of becoming a college student athlete. You're walking onto a campus, you just left high school, you were a big man on campus as your senior in high school. Now you're getting to college. And I try to get parents and student athletes to understand, and those athletes that I work with, I try to stress this. You have no idea. The first 6 months of the college experience, just purely as a student, not as just a student athlete, but as a student, it's very, very challenging. It's very, very difficult. You're managing things on your own. In some cases, you're far away from home. Your schedules are kind of mixed up. You're not used to that schedule. Well, add in the fact that you're going to be a student athlete, and time is really not yours to determine, meaning when you get up, when you go to bed, when you're studying, when you're practicing, when you're lifting, when you're eating. So we're going to talk to a few student athletes tonight that will be sharing their stories. They are currently freshmen in college. They are student athletes that I've worked with their freshman and sophomore years of high school, and now they find themselves as college freshmen. Benjamin, do schools help? Okay, Benjamin, I got your question. Librarian, first survivor, Eye of the Tiger. Uh, Bradley. Okay. Mary says we had cassettes. Bobby Brown, Don't Be Cruel. Bradley, that's a tough one. That's a tough one to wear. Bobby Brown. Um, Co- Copper State. Styx album. Okay, Mary, I like that one. Styx. Madonna. Okay, my wife would give you a thumbs up on the Madonna. She happened to be a Madonna, like a Virgin tour, whatever that album was. Okay, Lap Librarian. I like that. LAP Librarian. Grease, 8-track. 8-track. Now you make me feel young. That I appreciate that. My son is a freshman. Mary, is your son a freshman in college or a freshman in high school? I'd like to know that. Benjamin, do schools help with housing on campus? Living, is that normal part of the college scholarship package? Good question. And I'm going to ask that question tonight. So let's talk about this. We spend a lot of time concerned with and contemplating and trying to figure out college recruiting. In some cases, we think about that more than we think about our upperclassmen years in high school. I'm not going to be going down that pathway. I really don't think there's anything to consider with regard to the college experience as a freshman or sophomore in high school. As you begin to enter your junior year, for those families that I work with, we spend a lot of time talking about how do you envision college, what type of campus environment, what type of geographical location, campus size, academic rigors, academic support mechanisms. And then senior year, we take our list and we begin to take our visits as well as open dialogues with coaching staff, admissions departments, financial aid departments. So I thought tonight what we would talk about is, you hear me talk a great deal about routine. And really, I believe that that is something that we do not focus enough time on. Meaning, when you get to college, you may think you're putting in the work. Sometimes I hear young athletes use the word grind. I want to be crystal clear and tell you, you don't know what grind or working is until you get to college, because then it goes from maybe a level 2 to a level 10. And even though you think you're grinding and working hard, when you get to college, I have a young man that's at the Air Force Academy. And I have another young man that's at the Naval Academy. And they go away from June and through a 6-week process. And I can promise you their grind is a different kind of grind. So they have a military component, an athletic component, and obviously an academic component. But routine is something that I try to stress, particularly to the young man that's at the Air Force Academy. He kind of started that his senior year and carried that into his freshman fall, this particular fall at the Air Force Academy. And it's really important for families to understand there is no correlation, none, zip, zero, between high school athletics or travel ball programs and college athletics. One is very much not like the other. And so oftentimes you're going to hear from athletes, student athletes, and say, oh my gosh, Coach Beede, I know you told me it was going to be tough, but my goodness, this is tough. There are people getting sick on the sidelines. There are people, pulling hamstrings, and I always try to get parents, this is not to understand, this is not a boot camp, but college athletics are going to push your student athlete to their breaking point. And they want to know when they get to that point, whether it's exhaustion, whether it's just, physically they can't, they feel like they can't continue. Do they fight through it? Do they work through it? And if they can't get through it in the fall, how can they help us in the spring when we're in enemy territory? And so college coaches, and this is as part of a mental process as a physical process. And so even though you may hear from these athletes tonight talking about conditioning, strength, athletic repetitions with regard to throwing routines, there's also a mental component, with regard to time management and pushing forward, moving forward, getting up and moving forward. And so I think that's a really a talking point that I think we should be focused in on, because even if you think JUCO, I have some parents that think, well, he's not going to NCAA, he's going to a JUCO. So how hard can that be? Go to Blinn or go to San Jacinto or go to LSU Eunice or go to Chipola, and there's 180 plus people attending workouts. You're going to find out real quick. They're going to try to thin the herd, and they put the stress test on physically, mentally, and all levels of college baseball. Division III, I did it at Becker College back in the day. Um, Fall is meant to test and see how athletes respond to adversity, soreness, failure. And so I think the more we get that information out, I think it will help parents and athletes in particular prepare. So let's check in on our questions. All right, Old School Baseball Academy, the Money Man. I like that one. Mark Ranson, thank you, Mark, for reposting. College of New Jersey, freshman. That's a great college, new coaching staff. And the librarian says, "You're not the baby, but Grease." Okay, I that was a great album, by the way. So let's talk about the realities of the college freshman experience. First of all, I talk to a lot of parents, and I'm going to put some things in the comments section in this particular video that have come from parents. And one of the kind of the common themes is the coaching staff or a recruiting coordinator seems to be a different guy than who recruited my son or my student athlete. So I want to get that out there in the open. A lot of times when coaches are interacting during the recruiting process, they're, engaged and they're conversing and they're communicating and their demeanor is very calm. And then you get on campus and it becomes Sergeant Hulka and there's a whistle and there's an agitation and there's an aggression and there's a tone that catches the younger athletes off guard. So as I've often said over and over, it's really important to listen to the message and not the tone or how it's being delivered. And so in today's world of college athletics, there has to be a discipline, a determination. And a lot of times the college coaches kind of switch into that mode of coach mode. They're not there to be your buddy. They're not there to be your friend. They're there to be your coach. And sometimes, being a coach means they have to push the buttons to see the responses that they get. Sometimes there are occasions where the relationship can get rocky. And that's where athletes begin to question, did they make the right decision? And so I want parents and athletes to understand you have to give this time. The early portion of the fall is not time to pass judgment on who a coach is as a person, who you thought the coach was going to be, and how the coach treats your student athlete. You're talking about men being coached by men, and it requires a mental discipline to understand that coach has a responsibility to not just one individual, but in some cases 34 or 38. They have decisions that they have to make in a very short period of time. At the NAIA level, things are a little bit less restrictive. In fact, it is much different at the NAIA level, but still, even at the NAIA level, there's a great number of athletes. And so coaches really have to, push physically and skill set wise to see where their student athletes are. So the first topic is don't worry about where your student athlete is starting. When I say starting, where they're beginning their process, meaning, if they're a pitcher, are they a bullpen guy, a starter guy? Now's not the time for that. Where they're hitting in an order, what position they're going to play. None of that is really being determined during the fall. Most student athletes are going to see the fall from multiple positions. They're going to be asked to do multiple dynamics of practice, meaning could be a fungo hitter if they're a pitcher, could be shagging fly balls again if they're a pitcher. Also, there's cardio and strength and conditioning portion early in the morning. There's classroom environment for baseball at a lot of schools. So I always encourage athletes, make sure you're taking notes. Like a lot of coaches will always say to young athletes, make sure you have a journal. I've said that multiple times. Make sure you have a pen, make sure you have a journal, make sure you're taking notes. You know, in today's world, you can take a phone, you can make sure you're taking notes, recording, make sure you okay that, get that okayed with the coaching staff, by the way. Um, you want to make sure that you're taking those notes and being able to make sure you understand what is important because they're going to go through things at a much higher level with regard to things like cadences, signs, first and thirds, bunt defenses, pickoffs, outfield communication, infield communication, catching and infielder communication. So this is a brand new language, for lack of a better term, that's being taught at the college level. And sometimes a lot of student athletes, they get all this stuff swimming in their head. And so that's why the value of the journal and obviously recording to make sure you're able to kind of go over that. The next thing is, boy, oh boy, is nutrition and hydration a big deal. Most college programs, not all, but most college programs do have strength departments, trainers. They're going to also have some form of nutrition provided for the athletes. But you can't get away with Cordoba, like a burrito or a slice of pizza. You have to understand the protein, the carbohydrates, the good fats, the hydration with the minerals, with the salt, with the Celtic salt. Um, you really, really have to address that. And it's not something where you can just chug down a bottle of water and say, okay, I'm hydrated. You have to understand you're about to ramp your engine up to, redlining your engine for 6 to 8 weeks pretty aggressively. There's not a lot of weaning in or ramping up. And so parents need to be aware of that. If you have a 2026 high school graduate, we want to learn from these 25 high school graduates that are going into college. I can remember very vividly my youngest son going to Vanderbilt, and he was accustomed to playing football in the fall. And we're from the Northeast in the greater Boston area. And his whole life from 6 to 18 or 17, every fall meant putting the ball down and playing football. Going to college, he was throwing at such an aggressive pace. His body just wasn't prepared for that. The amount of throwing and the intensity of the throwing. And so, parents, you need to begin to understand the sooner you implement that into your student athlete's routine as a senior in high school, they can carry that to into college. And we're going to be joined. Baron, hello, sir.
Yeah, how are you?
Baron, why don't you tell the folks you are a 2025 high school graduate? Start off where you went to high school and where you're going to college.
Yeah, so I went to high school at Argyle High School. It's like outside the Dallas area, and I'm now here a freshman at Abilene Christian ACU.
Okay, and so I would love for you. I've been working with the Manis family, probably one of the greatest families that God created. I know that Bradley and Mary are probably watching, and your sister. But since your sophomore year, so let's just talk unscripted. Talk about your first few days on campus as a college freshman. What were they like? Did it meet your expectation, exceed your expectation? Did anything catch you off guard that you would say to current high school seniors, hey, man, you better be ready to do this?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that was different for me versus high school, um, it's 7:49 right now. I got up at 8:30. I have not yet had free time, so I had class at 9, and then I had another class from at 10, and then we had I went and ate lunch, and then I had an all athletes class from 12 to 1, and then I went over to the field. I threw. I had a lift at 2. I came back to my dorm, showered, Then we had team meetings from 4 to 6, and then we had headshots for the team at 6:30. Came back. I had a chapter to read of homework, and then now I'm here. So this is only the third, second day of class. So I think that really wasn't something I was I don't know, necessarily expecting. I don't think it's unreasonable or anything like that, but I think it's busier than I intentionally expected it to be.
Can you talk a little bit about the physical demands, I guess we'll call it, upon getting onto campus? Was it something a little bit more intense than you might have thought it might have been?
Yeah, so they since Abilene's a Division One program, we got to come up here in the summer and live, and so I think that was super helpful. You had time to really get used to the physical part of baseball, so I think you got a good week. Really easy lifts, just kind of getting used to how the form is and the requirement, like the depth requirements and stuff they want you to do on the lifts. And then the next 4 weeks we slowly ramped up and got to where you can be able to handle the whole workout. But I think it's very tedious and it's a very specific way to do it. And so I think it's important for me, like I would have said, like in high school, like, you know, the weight's not important, but how you do the weight's more important. So I think that's the main focus here. But now, yeah, they don't you're not going in the weight room to mess around. It's a very, you're going in there to work out and you're getting out. You don't it's not somewhere I'd say like it's not like an enjoyable experience. Like you going in there to do your job, work and get better, and then you're gonna try to get back up to your dorm. That's about it.
So talk a little bit about some of your teammates, the older teammates, the upperclassmen. What has that experience been like for you as far as have they taken the younger guys under their wings and kind of said, hey, here's like what's some insight that they may have given you to lighten your load or make the experience a
Yeah.
little bit better for you?
They've been great. Well, I met a few up here whenever in the summer they were up here, the guys that weren't playing summer ball. But as we've been here, I think it's different. I'm sorry. I think it's different that you're not in high school anymore, and so like the amount of stuff that we have to do together is different. And so it's like, you know, um, some of the guys might be older or like one of the guys I've talked to is Noah. He's a graduate student. He's 23. But I had the long toss with him yesterday. It's you have to just all the guys on the team. Everyone understands that everyone made the team the same way, and so it's the age doesn't particularly matter. It's just about you know working hard, and I think they've been very helpful. And it's not a um, I mean, it's cutthroat in a way of like you have to work hard and everything, but the guys aren't rooting against you. They're not trying to necessarily steal your spot. Everyone's just trying to work hard and do their best. It's it's a it's definitely different than high school was for me. I think some guys probably have different high school experience, but it's very you guys are all on a team together, and the coaches really emphasize that point. I think for me, Coach McCarty does a good job of saying like, hey, like they don't use the word freshman. You have first year, second year, third year, fourth year. So it's not they don't want to make it seem like you're young and not able to be on the team and not do stuff. So I think they do a good job of that and
Is
keeping
is
the
there
older
is there
classmen involved.
anything that you would have done differently to prepare? Like if you could go back into Argyle, knowing what you know in the first month or two that you've spent at Abilene Christian, what would you have done differently to help prepare for the realities of that transition to becoming a college freshman?
Um, Probably would have ran more. I think the conditioning part, you a lot of people say, well, you don't run baseball, you don't do anything, and yeah, I mean it's true, you don't, but they don't really judge. You tell your strength coach you don't run baseball, you don't really care. It's not really it's so I think that's been probably the conditioning part has been the hardest for me. I would have ran more, but I think my family, it was important to keep up on your grades and stay ahead of stuff like that. So I think that's important. I think it'd be tough if I hadn't been kind of used to doing that, but it's something I have been doing. So it hasn't been too difficult for me so far.
One of the last questions I have for you, Baron, is that I mean you played at a very very high level in high school in Texas. Very very competitive state for youth. Baseball. Can you talk a little bit about the talent level at Abilene Christian? Like when you're looking around
Yeah.
as a total team, how much different is the talent collectively from Argyle High School, from Argyle to Abilene Christian?
Uh, I mean, I don't even. It's totally different. I'd say, you know, everyone out there I go play catch with, I'm like, man, this dude's got a good arm. You know, every guy I go play with, man, this guy's got a good curveball. It's I've never played catch with a guy that I'm like, he's okay. You know, he's good. Where high school, we were a good team, and I was our best pitcher, and so like there's guys I play catch with. There's just like, I mean, he's not gonna drop. I'm not gonna hit him in the face. You know, he's not gonna drop the ball, but he doesn't. He can't throw the same that I can. Where everyone here is gonna be able to throw the same, does the same things, and probably better. Especially as a freshman, I think everyone's bigger. I mean, I'm a bigger guy. I'm 6'2", 185, but you know, I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm one of the bigger ones here. You know, I mean, I'm a taller guy, but um, the size is a lot different, and so I think that translates a lot. So they're gonna be able to make that throw or make that catch that you thought you were the only one that could make, but it's like, nah, me, you can do it too.
Can you see a difference from a nutritional perspective with the upperclassmen, like how their routines are compared to the underclassmen just trying to find their way? Do you see the upperclassmen kind of
Oh, I'm on the
going?
call right now.
Yeah.
There you go.
Do you see the
Sorry, go ahead.
upperclassmen kind of having that routine established and they just trust that process every single day?
Yeah, so it's a little different. The upperclassmen are since they live off campus and I live in their apartment, something like that. So ours is a little different considering we like we'll go to the cafeteria to eat or anything like that. But I think it's the biggest thing is finding time to eat. You know, I think sometimes can get too busy to where you might eat breakfast at 8 and then you get class and then workouts and it's 2 p.m., you haven't eaten again. So I think it's really important to create a system to create just being disciplined in what you're doing in your day, and that allows you to not to think about it. You're not gonna forget if you do it every single day. You know, to just make it a habit just to this is what I'm doing on Wednesdays. I get up and then for this 15 minutes, I'm going to cafeteria, I'm getting chicken and rice, I'm eating this, and I gotta hurry it to next class. You know, if that just becomes your habit, then it's like you don't feel like you're in a rush. That's just what you do. You know, it's important to create systems and make it a habit and just I think that's the only way you can really do it. If you're just kind of randomly trying stuff here and there, you're not gonna be able to stick to that.
Well, Baron, I want to say thank you. I know you're busy, and I appreciate you taking the 10 minutes to share your experiences at Abilene Christian. Best of luck this fall. And for folks that want to follow along, Baron Manis, Abilene Christian University, left-hand pitcher. Thank you, Baron, very much. I appreciate you taking
Yes,
the
sir.
time, Captain. All right,
Thank you,
man.
Walter.
Thank you. So, parents, that's going to be the first of the athletes. I want to encourage you that if you have a question for the athletes, go ahead and ask me. This is a live Q&A. I want to be able to ask the questions that you want answers to. Couple things, please. One, please spread the word. I would really appreciate it if everyone that takes the time to watch this on any social media platform would subscribe to the YouTube channel. I want to say thank you to every single one of you that have subscribed already and helped me surpass 25,000 subscribers. Never would have thought in a million years we'd be at this level, but I am greatly appreciative and grateful that you have taken the time to subscribe. Also, please engage with the YouTube video. If you're watching on the Facebook or the X, just take the time to go over to the YouTube channel, say something positive. Again, I asked you about your first album. That's to create kind of energy so the algorithm can kind of pick up the positive vibes and the responses and then begin to push out the content. You can tell by my new background. I'm trying to upgrade everything. I'm trying to add some resources with regard to, we're going to be talking to Will Clark, famous I should say San Francisco Giants, St. Louis Cardinal, Mississippi State alum. Going to be talking with guys, Roger Clemens. We're going to talk to Kurt Schilling, Brett Saberhagen. We're going to try to talk like we talked with Clint Hurdle, trying to broaden the podcast. But I really need your help to spread the awareness. So make sure we get a thumbs up, engage with the video, leave some comments, but more importantly, share the channel with everyone. Also, from a question perspective, yes, Nolan Ryan, Adam Wright, Nolan Ryan's son, did go to Abilene Christian, and that is a tremendous school. They are one of the top, what I would call 40 programs in the country. Baron Manis, elite young man, strong student, strong academic, really polished young man from a great family. I think he'll do really, really well at Abilene Christian. Let's see here. Do colleges have specific development plan for each player? If so, how are those plans? That's a great question, and I'm definitely gonna answer that. Hello to Michael, and let me add to the stage the man, the myth, the legend, Cash McDade from Virginia, now
How you
at
doing?
Baylor University as a catcher. Uh, Mom is a Commodore. Cash, how are things in Baylor at Baylor?
It, it's going great. I'm all getting adjusted to new life. I mean, I got here in July, but school year means whole different schedule, all new things. So I'm making the adjustment right now.
So, talk a little bit, share with us a little bit. Is college what you thought it would be? Were you as prepared as you needed to be, particularly with regard to the strength component that you and I have talked about since your freshman year? Do you feel like you were ready and prepared by the time you landed in Texas?
I mean, when I first got here, it was a real wake up call. Like my first lift, I was shaking in my arms and legs. It was intense. It was probably the hardest workout I've ever done. I don't know what I could have done to prepare for that, but it's a whole different animal. It's a beast, and it's hard to prepare for unless you're under some elite instruction and elite motor.
So talk a little bit about, as you and I began to work with each other when you were a freshman, how did you envision college during high school, and what is the reality of college, whether it's the skill of the your teammates, what are the coaches like? What is the college experience as a baseball athlete over and above the lifting been like for you?
I mean, when you're a freshman and you're envisioning college baseball, you expect to just show up and be a dude and be ready to play on an elite team, and it's really not as you'd expect. It's a grind, and you show up and there's 35 other guys that have been doing this, or that are some are new just like you, and some have been doing it for a long time since before you've even been in high school. So it's a whole different animal. Like you need you you need to be ready to compete, lift. And get better in baseball, because when you're in high school, you may think you're good, you're this, but you come to a big dog school, and it's not your big fish in a small pond. It's everybody's a big fish. Everybody was the best player in their high school team. Everybody's good. So it's definitely an adjustment.
What advice would you give Cash, say, from 2024, 2025 to Cash today? What would you like to go back and say, listen, Cash, you better do this and get ready, and this is going to help you be better prepared in 2025 in the fall?
Probably tell myself to get strong and get healthy. If you're The guys that do the best and the guys that are succeeding the most here that I see are the strongest guys and the guys that are mentally prepared for this, because it's not all just, oh, go to the weight room, oh, go to practice. It's a grind from waking up at 7, going to class, to not getting out of practice, not getting out of lift till 7 o'clock. You got 12-hour days, and it's very hard to prepare for, and it's something you really need to get ready to do.
So I want to let parents and athletes know Cash is probably one of the top high school catchers in his class in the country. Was scouted, really, really talented young man. So this is something that, he attended the PBR Futures. But again, Cash took the time over the last couple of summers to really prepare himself physically with regard to his skill set development. Talk a little bit about now as you're catching older pitchers. What are you learning from them as far as how they go about their preparation when you're catching, whether it's bullpens or playing catch with these guys? What's different about the college pitchers versus the high school pitchers?
I mean, for one, they locate very well. Like you get a good idea of what their pitch shapes look like, and I talked about it in my Futures Games interview, that the number one thing to catch guys is to know their pitch shapes, know what their pitches are going to do. Because when you know that and you have a sense for how hard guys throw, what their pitches look like, you can really start to gauge how they're, or what to do, how to prepare, what their pitches are going to do, how hard they throw. All that just makes your job a whole lot easier. And that's like the little things. As I gotten into later stages of high school, it stopped going from general ideas to nitpicking on the smallest little details and really getting like toned in on everything in your craft and not just the general aspects of it.
Talk a little bit about the academic component and how that fits in to your 12-hour day that you just alluded to. Is that something that you have the academic advisor help set up your schedule before the start of your freshman year, and then they kind of give you the time parameters that you have for school and then obviously practice?
I mean, they help us out a lot. We have academic advisors that schedule our classes so we can we can eat, we have time to eat, we have time to go to class and then get prepared for practice and get prepared for everything. But we've only been in class 2 days, so I can't really speak on what homework and what all that stuff is going to look like when we really get started. But it's definitely going to be a challenge. Like this time right now would be reserved for just schoolwork and getting ready for the next day.
Now, talk a little bit about, do you have a roommate in the dorm? Are you living in a dorm?
I'm living in an apartment, and I got a roommate that lives across from me, and we we try to do everything together. We're both freshmen. We try to grind together. He's from Virginia as well, so I've known him for a while. So we've kind of grown. We picked Baylor together. Kind of, it's been the vision for a long time, and we've been ready for this, and we've talked about it for a long time.
Can you talk a little bit about how how your coaches have been at the college level? Is it what you thought? Have they been a little bit more intense? What are the coaches like during the summer, and obviously now as you're first starting your first few days of school?
It's always going to be intense. Our coaches have helped us a lot. Like you think you know something until you get to a big time place where everybody is a master at their craft and they know exactly what they're doing. So they can help you with the little things. And if you're doing something wrong, you're going to hear about it. And if you're struggling, they'll help you out. Like you think, like the first thing we did, we had a team meeting and we talked about bunting. Like every kid in high school thinks they know how to bunt until they get taught. And it was way different from what I'd learned. And it was definitely an adjustment, but these guys definitely know what they're talking about and definitely are.
Would you say there's a lot more attention to detail in your practice? During your practice minutes or hours, would you say there's more intensity and purpose in the practice at the college level than the high school level?
Yeah, especially here, everything's full speed. In our weight room, you run everywhere. You don't give any time up. It's the same thing when we're at practice. You're moving from station to station efficiently, and you're getting through everything fast as you can and efficiently as you can to try to get as much work in as possible, which is definitely different from what you do in the high school level or the travel ball level.
Last question, Cash. I know you're busy, Captain, and I really appreciate your time. What advice would you give to the high school guys that are graduating in 26 or 27 as they're trying to go through the recruiting process, looking back when you were going through the recruiting process? What would you tell, now a high school junior or senior that they can prepare themselves to becoming a college student athlete?
Well, first, when you're picking a school, I'd say go where you're wanted because college baseball is a business, and I think everybody should know that now. And if you want to go to the place where you feel like you are going to get an opportunity and you're wanted and you have the best opportunity to get better and grow, because it's not about playing your freshman year of college. Like that's a very rare occurrence that freshmen are getting that opportunity. You need to be at a place where coaches want to see you grow, want to see you get better, and get in the weight room. That's the number one thing I've been told, and it really hit me here is get in the weight room.
How many times did I tell you that?
I can't even count.
All right, Cash, you're a good man, and I wanted to let parents know. Okay, Cash McDade, catcher, Baylor. You're going to hear a lot about Cash. I hope you, as parents, this young man in particular, is somebody that you want to kind of emulate and follow. Great parents, great family, great young man, hard worker, extremely talented. And Cash, I hope you have a great fall. If you need anything from me, Captain, just reach out. Say hi to Coach Mitch and Coach Zach for me.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Walter.
All right, Captain, I'll talk with you. So I wanted parents to kind of you hear from me all the time. We talk to college coaches, but we don't talk to the actual active participants. We may talk to former college players, but I wanted you to hear specifically from freshmen. And I think if our takeaway from both Baron and Cash, and we did no scripting. I've been with these young men since they were very, very young. They're both extremely good young men. They made good decisions. They lead good lives, and they have really good work ethics. But each of them has said to me, my gosh, I didn't know we were going to do this amount of running. I didn't know. You kept telling me about the weight room, the weight room, the weight room. I didn't know I was going to be doing this much lifting. And so this is why I try to be that resource for you as parents. The last thing you need is to how to hit, how to pitch, how to field, how to catch. You need a resource that can prepare a student athlete for the reality of the experience. It's one thing to get into a school, it's another to be prepared to compete when your feet hit campus. And so I strongly encourage parents to do as much homework, to listen and read, and don't worry about chasing. The college process. I had great conversations today with Williams College, part of the NESCAT. I've also talked at Babson. I have a young man that just committed to Babson. And all of these young men, and I do have one particular text that I just received as we started here, and I want to be able to show it to you as parents. And I want to bring it, of course, when I have this green screen. So let me just remove the green screen. I think it's important for parents to kind of see this. Exeter experience last year prepped all of us very well for today. I never thought that I would drop off my only child at college in a such balanced and at peace manner. Now, I want parents to understand, yes, that young man, that family's from Iowa. And when I brought up a post-grad year, they were staunchly opposed. And after the year there, it really altered this young man's future. He's from Iowa. He's an only child. He was going to graduate high school as a 17-year-old. And I only bring this up because I want parents to understand you do not have to do a post-grad year, but there are lots of various routes to get to become a college student athlete. I think we're all under the impression that it begins at this age, and when they get to high school, we need to be concerned with, no, we need to have a plan, an approach, and we need to execute that plan. And we need to really begin to understand at a much deeper level what is ahead for our student athletes, because we put so much of the load on their mind, on their shoulders, on their physical beings, but we're really not teaching them. We're kind of telling them that baseball, 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 softball, football, hockey, all of these sports, when in reality, it's the preparation physically, mentally, academically, socially, culturally, living with a roommate, getting up every day at a certain time, going to bed, nutrition. We heard from both Baron and Cash, and they both stressed about 12 hours a day. Okay. And that's just their working time. That's not their study time. That's the 12-hour day is the working time. So now you add in the study time, and let's just put 2 or 3 hours in there. And oh, by the way, we want to sleep. So, if you want to try to get that 8 or 9 hours of sleep with 3 hours of homework. So my point to you is it takes discipline. It takes a routine. It takes knowledge. It takes a plan. So I want to thank the Manis family, the McDade family, two of the nicest families in the country, in my world specifically. They entrusted me with their families, and trust me, we've talked at Sunday nights at 10:30. We've talked Tuesday mornings at 8:30. There's no such thing as an easy path for both the Manis or the McDade family. There's obstacles, there's hurdles, but together we can overcome, we can persevere. Shirley, thank you so much with regard to that comment. I really appreciate that. My son, 16. Yes, Jacob Wilson. Wow, is that a great athlete to emulate? Um, right, exactly. Get in the weight room. My 26 will be watching this. I want to encourage, all the parents that find their way to this or athletes. A lot of my videos don't get all the watch time. The analytics are very, very bad. And all of the consultants that speak with me will often tell me, hey, just do a 15-minute video. I'm too moving my hands, I'm too talkative, and I feel like I'm not sharing enough. So the 15 to 20-minute thing doesn't work. I'm trying this new background, but I'm not really technology savvy. So I don't have planes buzzing around and baseball in the video in the background and breaking down double plays and breaking down at bats. I don't do all that. I leave that to other people. What I try to do is give you, as parents and student athletes, real information, usable information, not throwaway or repetitive information that everybody's saying. I mean, for 5 years, whether it was on Twitter Spaces or the Clubhouse platform or here on YouTube, I've been talking about topics that now is all over social media. And people will say, well, you said that. It doesn't matter. I don't care who said it, when they said it. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not keeping score. I'm not trying to keep up or compete with anyone. I'm trying to be a good spouse. I'm trying to be a good parent. I'm trying to be a good friend. And most importantly, a resource. So I could use your help by actively promoting the channel. Don't need to spend any money. I don't need you to buy anything. I don't need you to do any of that. I have a new website that is coming out. It's going to have a boatload of free information. I'm going to have access to the audio books. I'm redoing several of the books to update information. Parents have asked me to do that, but I need your help with regard to promoting the channel. If each and every one of you would just take the time to mention to friends within the youth sports community, as far as the channel, also the social media profiles, that would be of great help to me to bring more awareness from the algorithm. I don't even know what an algorithm really is. I know it's all about AI, but by engaging with videos, by going back, and there's a whole bunch of videos that have so much great information. When I weighed, another 100 pounds ago, that, just listen to them because they're great resources for younger athletes. If you have a question, I encourage you to email me, walter@coachbeede.com. Great story today. A great young man in New Jersey. And him and his parents have worked with me for the last 3 years. And he started at the really lower end. And he's done everything that I've kind of recommended: strength training, Cressy, staying the course, don't chase velocity. And today he got a great opportunity and an offer. And I could see his parents beaming with pride in the background as we talked this morning, and the smile on the young man's face to know that a school, an NCAA Division III school, wants him and is recruiting him. And he never thought that was going to be possible. Has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with that young man's determination and resiliency. And that's really what this channel is all about. So I want to say thank you to everybody that spent the time. I think this was really a great episode. If you could share it with people, I think this is great insight for athletes that are in high school right now to hear from Baron and Cash and understand the path that they took and what they would have done differently. I want you to leave this week knowing that next week we're going to do the exact opposite. We're going to hear from the parents of some of the boys that are freshmen in college, and so that you'll be able to get a parent's perspective. If you have a question, go ahead and leave it on here. Let me check and make sure we don't have any. Mary, thank you. John, thank you. More college freshmen, quick interviews, and maybe some sophomore help Kings. Okay, I will definitely take that, John, and I would definitely do that. Walter, I'd love to hear from some sophomores who have made it through the college freshman year. Thank you, Bradley. I will definitely do that. In fact, we'll skip we will skip the parents next week, and next week we'll hear from the sophomores and the juniors that are currently in college. And now that they're on the other side of that, and kind of get their perspective on how they might have prepared differently, what the reality versus the expectation was. So John and Bradley, I will definitely do that for you. I will have sophomores and juniors on next week, and we will get their perspective. Please send me some questions that you might want me to ask the athletes. I'll do that unscripted. I don't want to prepare them. I don't want these interviews to seem like, hey, I want you to say this, or hey, I want you to say that. I want them to be questions that they can answer from the heart, from their personal experience. And let's see. Oh, you're very welcome, Ashley. Thank you so much. So join me next week at 8:30. Again, ProLine balls, all the inventory is reloaded. So if you using, whether it's an individual at home as a cage, you're training a catcher, you're training an infielder, even an outfielder, you can use these balls in the hack attack or jugs to catch fly balls. But if you're trying to train with velocity, meaning hitting, receiving, fielding, and you want that consistency for repetition purposes, the ProLine ball, two things. My son Tyler uses them at the Lions Den. The athletes love them. The instructors love them. Why? Because they're durable and they offer true ball flight. They don't, kind of move all over the place. So if you're looking for that true repetition from a fastball, from a slider, a breaking ball, the ProLine ball will replicate those movements extremely accurately. That's why major leaguers such as Bobby Witt Jr. use these balls. Catchers use these balls to receive velocity and receive spin, and also infielders, first baseman, etc. I look forward to talking with you next Tuesday. Please send me your questions that you would like me to ask the athletes. Please help spread the channel. On your way out, give me the thumbs up. Let's try to get at least a couple hundred thumbs up on the video and comments on the video. Go over to the YouTube page, Coach Beede. Go over to the YouTube page, find the video, and engage with the video. Thank you, and we'll see you all next week.